Picture this. It's Friday night,
Oh, the best time of the week.
right? It's been a long, exhausting week, and you finally made it to the finish line. You just ordered your favorite takeout. It arrives at your door, piping hot.
Perfect.
You sink into the couch, you grab the remote, and you pull up your streaming service of choice. You are, completely ready to unwind.
Mm.
But then the scrolling begins.
Oh, the dreaded
You
scrolls.
hover over one thumbnail,
Yeah.
you watch a trailer, you back out, you scroll to another category, maybe you check your phone to see what the ratings are in a completely different app. You scroll some more.
And the clock is just ticking.
Exactly. Suddenly, 25 minutes have passed, your dinner is slowly going cold, you're frustrated, you're hungry, and you finally just click on something out of pure exhaustion.
Just to have something on the screen.
Right. Only to realize 20 minutes in that the movie completely misses the mark. It's a universally frustrating scenario. I mean, we have the world's entertainment right at our fingertips, yet we spend our leisure time totally paralyzed by choice, battling these algorithms that they just do not seem to get us.
It really is the ultimate modern paradox. We are drowning in an ocean of content, but we are starving for a genuinely good recommendation. And the core of that frustration comes down to how those platforms are actually built behind the scenes.
Well, in this deep dive, we are looking at a brilliant, highly practical solution to that exact problem. We're pulling from a fascinating article published in Android Police. This was on March 5, 2026, by Anu Joy.
It's a great piece.
It really is. And the title lays out the ambition here perfectly. It's called, I Built My Own Movie Recommendation System with NotebookLM, and it beats Netflix's algorithm.
A bold claim, but she backs it up.
She totally does. So our mission today is to figure out exactly how the author created this highly personalized, entirely private AI system using Google's NotebookLM and Gemini. We want to give you a step-by-step blueprint so you can bypass those passive streaming menus, reclaim your Friday nights, and curate your own perfect entertainment library. Okay, let's unpack this.
To really appreciate the system the author built, we first have to dissect why standard streaming algorithms fail us so consistently. Because, when you log into a major platform, the assumption is that the algorithm is trying to find your favorite movie.
Right, you assume it's working for you.
But it's not. Those massive platforms are optimizing for engagement and retention. They push what's trending globally or what they recently spent, $200 million producing.
Got to get a return on that investment.
Exactly. Or they push what has the highest statistical probability of keeping you passively glued to the screen for as long as possible. It's a one-size-fits-all approach that's basically masquerading as personalization.
So it's not actually tailored to your taste.
Not at a nuanced level, no. To get genuinely better recommendations, you cannot rely on a menu designed by a corporation to maximize their quarterly viewing hours. You have to build the universe of options yourself. You have to dictate the parameters of what is even possible to be recommended.
Which makes total sense in theory. But taking control of that universe of options presents a pretty immediate technical hurdle. Because NotebookLM, which is the AI tool at the center of this entire project, is incredibly powerful, but it doesn't actually crawl the live web looking for movies on its own.
Right, it's not a search engine in that way.
It's essentially an incredibly smart blank slate. It only knows the information that you specifically feed into it. So if you want to recommend great movies to you, you have to give it a massive database of great movies to choose from.
And that's where people usually get stuck.
Yeah, because manual data entry, like scraping charts from IMDb or typing out titles one by one that would take days, how did she actually get around that?
That manual friction is exactly where most personal organization projects go to die. Nobody wants to spend their weekend doing data entry. But the author found a brilliant hack to bypass the manual labor entirely. Instead of doing the heavy lifting herself, she used Google's Gemini, the generative AI model, to instantly build a highly structured database for her.
So she used one AI to feed the other AI.
Yes, she essentially used one AI to prep the food for the other AI.
I imagine the way you asked Gemini to build that list is pretty important, though. If you just type, give me a list of movies, you're probably going to get a very generic output that doesn't help you much later on.
The prompting is everything here. She used a very specific, targeted prompt to ensure the data had real utility. She told Gemini, make a list of the top 100 sci-fi movies. For each movie, include the year, a summary, and a few descriptive traits like tone, pacing, intensity, and style.
Oh, wow. Those last few variables, tone, pacing, intensity, and style, those seem like a massive upgrade from how we usually categorize films.
It changes the game entirely.
Because standard algorithms often struggle since they just look at the highest level tag, like sci-fi.
Mm.
But a sci-fi movie could be Arrival, which is a slow, philosophical, quiet meditation on language and humanity.
Right.
Or it could be The Matrix, which is an explosive, high-pacing action thriller. If an algorithm just knows you like sci-fi, it's going to throw both at you, regardless of what mood you're in.
Precisely. By forcing Gemini to categorize the pacing and intensity right out of the gate, she is structuring the data perfectly for highly specific mood-based filtering later on. She's embedding nuance into the very foundation of her database.
That's super smart.
It is. And Gemini instantly spits out this beautifully clean, organized list, which she simply copies into a Google Doc titled Sci-Fi Movies Master List. She then takes that document and uploads it directly into NotebookLM as her primary source.
And she didn't just stop at sci-fi, right?
No, she repeated this exact process for thrillers, comedies, dramas, and animated films. Within minutes, she generated thousands of structured data points without typing a single movie title herself.
That is incredibly efficient. But relying just on Gemini's top 100 lists presents a problem, doesn't it?
How do you mean?
Well, if you're only asking for the top 100 movies in a given genre, you're essentially just recreating the Netflix homepage. You're going to get the same obvious blockbusters that everyone has already seen or heard of.
That is a very real limitation of generative AI models. They tend to regress to the mean and offer the most popular consensus answers.
Right.
But the author recognized that. She knew she needed to inject some obscurity into her library. She specifically noted that she enjoys under-the-radar films. So to capture those, she didn't just rely on Gemini's memory. She utilized NotebookLM's Search the Web feature.
Oh, okay. So how does that differ from the Gemini prompt?
Instead of asking the AI to generate a list from scratch, she would use NotebookLM to search for highly specific niche queries. Things like underrated sci-fi movies from the 2000s or low-budget sci-fi cult classics.
Going for the deep cuts.
Exactly. The AI would scour the internet, surface curated lists from obscure film blogs, Reddit threads, and critic websites, and she would simply import those specific links directly into her NotebookLM project.
By adding that one extra step of targeted web searching, she ensured her universe of options became this deep, well-stocked, eclectic library rather than just a generic top 10 list.
It gave the library actual personality.
So she has this massive, structured, multi-genre library loaded into NotebookLM.
Yeah.
But a library is only half of a recommendation engine.
Correct.
How does the AI actually know what she specifically wants to watch?
Yeah.
How do you teach a blank slate AI your personal taste?
You have to give it a history to analyze, and this is the second pillar of her system. Alongside all those genre master lists, she created a separate, entirely personal document. She called it Watched Movies.
Like a viewing diary.
Exactly like a viewing diary. Every time she watches a film, she logs it in this document. She notes the title, but more importantly, she writes down what she liked about it, what didn't work for her, and any random thoughts she had during the credits.
Wait. Creating separate documents, opening them up after every single movie, typing out a review, and then manually uploading that new file to an AI platform every time you watch something. That sounds like exactly the kind of friction that makes people just give up and go back to blindly scrolling Netflix.
Oh, I totally agree.
Who wants homework after a movie?
It sounds incredibly tedious if you're thinking about old software mechanics. But this is where the modern tech stack makes it seamless. Because her viewing diary is a simple Google Doc, it integrates effortlessly. NotebookLM has a specific button inside the interface. It says, click to sync with Google Drive.
Oh, so there's no downloading.
No downloading, no formatting, no re-uploading files.
It just reads the live document.
Yes, it creates a live bridge. As she logs new movies or just jots down a quick thought on her phone in that Google Doc, she just hits that sync button in NotebookLM, and the AI's understanding of her tastes updates automatically.
That is seamless. And you know, what's fascinating here is how the AI begins to act like a deeply attentive, analytical listener.
It really does.
Because when you point NotebookLM at that Watch Movies diary, alongside the master lists, it does not just look for a thumbs up or a thumbs down. Think about your own Letterboxd account, or that running notes app list you keep on your phone. You know,
We all have one.
imagine if you could point an AI at that list, and it instantly understood why you abandon half the action movies you start. A streaming app knows you watched a movie, but NotebookLM starts to figure out the underlying psychology of your viewing habits.
That's the perfect way to phrase it.
It recognizes that you consistently praise practical effects, but complain when third acts rely too heavily on computer-generated imagery.
It is finding the invisible threads connecting your preferences. And once that bridge is built and the friction is removed, the system is primed. You have the universe of options and you have the deeply personalized taste profile.
Okay, so she's built this massive library and she's synced her personal diary. How does she actually get the AI to talk back to her when Friday night rolls around? How does she trigger the recommendation?
She treats the AI like a highly knowledgeable friend who has just read her entire diary. She uses a prompt that brings all the data together. She types, "Based on my sci-fi watch history, suggest 5 movies from the master list I'm most likely to enjoy next."
And the output she gets from that query is the big aha moment for me in this article.
Oh, absolutely.
Because when a corporate algorithm recommends a movie, it's a black box. It throws a thumbnail on your screen and says 98% match, but it absolutely refuses to tell you how it arrived at that number.
You just have to blindly trust it.
And usually, that trust is completely misplaced. But NotebookLM actually explains the logic behind every single suggestion it makes, and it uses her own data to justify it.
It shows its work.
Exactly. I mean, it literally quotes her own words back to her. When it recommends a film, it might say, "I'm suggesting this title because the pacing is similar to Blade Runner 2049, a film where you specifically praised the slow burn tension in your notes."
Which is incredible context.
Or, conversely, it will explicitly point out that it is actively avoiding themes she has previously criticized. You aren't just getting a title, you're getting a personalized logical pitch based on your own historical reactions.
And this is where those descriptive tags from the very first step, the tone, pacing, and intensity, become incredibly powerful. Because the AI understands those variables, she can apply highly custom filtering to her current immediate context.
Right, because context changes.
Exactly. If she's had a stressful week, she doesn't want an intense psychological thriller, even if she historically loves them.
So she can just alter her prompt for her mood.
Yes.
She notes that she can ask for exactly what she wants at that moment. She can type in, "Suggest a slow burn sci-fi with emotional depth," or "Find me something intense but strictly under 2 hours."
The time constraint is huge.
It's so helpful. And because the AI has all that data meticulously structured, it instantly sifts through thousands of titles to find the exact perfect match for her energy levels on that specific Friday night.
It is the ultimate evolution from passive consumption to active curation. You are no longer hoping a platform guesses your mood based on broader demographic trends. You're telling a private intelligence exactly what you need, and it is retrieving it from a library you approve of.
Here's where it gets really interesting, though. The text-based recommendations are practical and clearly effective, but the author took this experiment one step further into something that sounds almost like science fiction itself.
It really does.
She decided to play around with NotebookLM's audio overview feature. For those who aren't familiar with this tool, can you explain what exactly happens when you click that button in the studio panel?
The audio overview feature is essentially a text-to-speech large language model function that synthesizes all of your uploaded documents and transforms them into a synthetic two-way conversation.
Right.
It takes your dry data, your lists, your notes, and generates a surprisingly realistic audio discussion. It sounds exactly like a podcast, with 2 AI hosts bantering back and forth, summarizing and analyzing the material you provided.
So she feeds her sci-fi movies master list and her deeply personal watch movies diary into this audio overview tool. And she prompts it to create an audio show where these 2 synthetic hosts break down her specific viewing personality, her blind spots, and her patterns.
Which is wild.
She basically asked an AI to psychoanalyze her movie tastes out loud, like she was the subject of a true crime documentary, but for film critique.
Which is a brilliant way to use the tool. Because forcing the AI to synthesize information conversationally often highlights connections and contradictions you might completely miss when you are just scanning a bulleted text list.
And the result was apparently brutal. She shares this hilarious anecdote where the AI hosts are discussing her notes and they flat out roast her.
They did not hold back.
Not at all. They point out that in her viewing diary, she repeatedly claims to be totally exhausted by dystopian stories. She writes about how tired she is of bleak futures. But when the AI hosts look at her actual watch history and cross-reference it with the films she rates the highest, they realize she clearly loves dystopian stories. Her data shows she seeks them out constantly.
That's so funny.
The AI caught her in a massive contradiction between what she says she likes and what she actually watches.
That tension right there is such deeply profound psychological insight into how we consume media. Human beings are notoriously unreliable narrators of our own lives.
Oh, absolutely.
We have this aspirational version of our tastes. We tell ourselves we want to watch thought-provoking French New Wave cinema, or we claim we're burnt out on superhero movies. But our actual behavioral data, what we click on when we are tired on a Tuesday night, tells a completely different, often much more comforting story.
We lie to ourselves about what we want. But the AI doesn't have an ego to protect. It just looks at the math.
Precisely. An unbiased AI acts as a perfect mirror to our true behavioral data. And for the author, that roast was incredibly constructive. Hearing those AI hosts discuss her habits made her realize she didn't actually hate dystopias. She was just tired of predictable plots.
So it was a nuanced thing.
Yes, the AI provided her with a new term, noting she gravitated toward concept-heavy stories. It gave her the exact vocabulary she needed to refine her future searches. It completely reframed her understanding of her own preferences, moving her away from aspirational viewing and toward genuine satisfaction.
And that is the difference between a tech tutorial and a genuine lifestyle upgrade. It changes how you understand yourself.
Completely.
And to maintain that upgrade, the author established a really practical, sustainable loop for her weekends. It's not just a one-off experiment.
The maintenance of the system is what guarantees its long-term value. Her new weekend ritual is beautifully efficient. She watches a movie. Immediately after, while the credits are rolling and her thoughts are fresh, she opens her Google Doc and logs a few sentences.
No big essay required.
No, just a quick note. Because she utilizes that Google Drive sync feature, NotebookLM updates instantly in the background. Then, throughout the week, if a coworker recommends a film, or she reads an interesting review, she drops that title into her master list. It's a continuous, low-effort refinement of her personal algorithm.
But the real genius of her ritual is how she prepares for the next weekend. When she has a bit of energy, maybe on a Saturday morning, she queries the AI to generate a few fresh recommendations based on her newly updated profile.
Getting ahead of the game.
Exactly. But instead of just reading them and trying to remember them for later, she uses the Save to Note option inside NotebookLM. This extracts the AI suggestions and creates a stored, static list of highly curated, pre-approved options right there in her workspace.
She is entirely separating the act of deciding what to watch from the act of sitting down to watch it.
Yes. She recognizes that when Sunday night rolls around, she's going to be tired. She is not going to have the executive function to prompt an AI or debate genres.
The takeout has arrived, the brain is off.
Exactly. So she doesn't open Netflix to be overwhelmed. She opens her saved recommendations note, picks one of the 3 pre-vetted movies that her own private AI curated for her, and she hits play. No scrolling, no cold food, absolutely no thinking required in that moment of rest.
It is a masterclass in protecting your leisure time. You are front-loading the cognitive effort when you have the energy so that you can experience genuine, frictionless relaxation when you actually need it.
So what does this all mean?
If we connect this to the bigger picture, what we are really witnessing here is a massive paradigm shift in how we interact with information and media. For the last 10 to 15 years, we have been conditioned into a state of passive consumption.
Very true.
We log onto a monolithic platform and we surrender our agency. We let a corporate algorithm dictate our Friday nights because the alternative, manually hunting for good content, researching directors, reading reviews, simply felt like too much work. We traded our nuanced taste for convenience.
It has always just been easier to scroll the trending row and hope for the best, even if the best is usually mediocre.
But what this article proves so effectively is that the barrier to entry for active, highly customized curation has completely collapsed. Yes, it takes a little bit of time to initially prompt Gemini, set up your Google Docs, and write down your thoughts after a movie.
A small investment.
Exactly. That minor upfront investment yields a massive return. You are trading 5 minutes of logging your thoughts for the complete elimination of that agonizing 25-minute scrolling session every single weekend. You are taking the steering wheel back from the streaming giants and building a system that serves your specific needs rather than a system that serves a tech company's quarterly engagement metrics.
It really makes you realize how much better and how much more personal our technology can be when we are the ones defining the parameters. We don't have to be at the mercy of the feed.
Which raises an important and entirely different question for you to consider as you think about the data you generate every day. If an AI can be trained on a simple Google Doc to understand your movie tastes better than you do, even catching your own psychological contradictions, what other areas of your life could you apply this exact same system to?
Oh, that's a wild thought.
Could you build an ultimate recommendation engine for your reading list, logging what chapters made you put a book down? Could you use it for your travel destinations, feeding it your past itineraries to find out what you actually enjoy versus what just looks good on a postcard? Or could you even use it for your career decisions, tracking your daily work satisfaction to figure out what projects actually give you energy?
Wow. Imagine a personal AI that stops you from taking the wrong job, or points out that you actually hate beach vacations even though you keep booking them out of habit. The possibilities are truly endless once you start actively tracking your own behavioral data and letting a private system analyze it. Thank you so much for joining us on this deep dive. We hope this inspires you to take back your Friday nights, stop scrolling, and try building your own master lists this weekend. See you next time.